You are listening to KZSC's Voces, Críticas, Critical Voices. I am your producer and host, Silvana Falcone. Today I'm here with Marley Reynosa, Program and Events Manager and Lead Surf Instructor for Brown Girl Surf. She's an avid surfer who has competed in national surf contests in her home country, the Dominican Republic. Following her completion of the International Surfing Association Level 1's instructor program in March 2017, she joined the Surf Instructor volunteer crew at Brown Girl Surf. Due to her passion for the organization's mission statement, she was thrilled to take on her current role as the planner and leader of the organization's community events. Her experiences as a female surfer in the Dominican Republic and as a Latina in the U.S. fuels her dedication to empowering women of color through outdoor recreation. Marley loves music and art and is trained in opera and classical vocal performance. She holds a degree in French studies from Chapman University with a minor in music. She resides in Oakland, California, and you can find her prancing around in nature, humming tunes in between sets of waves. Welcome, Marley, to KZSC's Voces, Críticas.
I'm so happy to be here.
Tell us about how Brown Girl Surf got started.
Brown Girl Surf started as an online platform to raise the visibility of women of color surfers. Before Brown Girl Surf started in 2011, if you did a Google search for brown women who surf or black surfer girls, you really couldn't find anything. And then later, our co-founder and longtime environmental educator, Mira Monicam, who is an amazing woman, she came up to Farhana, the founder, with the idea of developing Brown Girl Surf as a community program. Since then, we've been carpooling girls and women from Oakland all around the Bay Area to the beach. We go to Half Moon Bay to surf.
And why is it important to have a surf program that's dedicated to girls and young women of color and specifically their empowerment in the ocean?
There's just something uniquely healing and empowering about playing in the ocean, about being in nature and the outdoors. Every girl should have the right to not only access those spaces, but to feel like they belong there. But with the history of segregation and exclusion in America, and with the current mainstream narrative lacking any representation of people who look like us, the common feeling among girls and women of color is that we are out of place, that this is a white man's playing field. We want to make sure that every girl feels like that this is their playground, that this is somewhere where we belong. Up until the 60s, the beaches in California were segregated, and that meant that people of color didn't have access to pools on the beaches. That meant that people of color didn't have access to swimming, to connecting to the ocean, and then there was this fear instilled around connecting to the ocean, and there's this pervasive negative narrative that we are actually trying to change.
I appreciate the mention of segregated beaches. Beaches were segregated, and so therefore the lack of people of color at beaches has actually a pretty long history. So primarily girls of color and young women are participating in your programs. Are they mostly Latinas and African Americans, or are you also reaching other girls of color?
Our most popular program is our Community Surf Sister Saturdays, and it's an intergenerational surf program that's open to girls and women, and it's ages 9 to 99. We get moms and daughters who come to surf, grandmothers. We get girls and women from all backgrounds and all walks of life. We've had participants come from LA, Portland, Cleveland, and even Atlanta to join us. I'd say about 85% are women of color. We have African Americans, Latinx. Que lo que mi gente? I'm Dominican. We have Asian, Pacific Islander. While we are an inclusive organization, we care about equity in the outdoors. So we focus our resources and our outreach on girls and women of color, and we strive to maintain a majority brown space. It's really important to us that the girls who do our program find that their instructors are sensitive to their experiences.
So tell me what is involved in your role as the program and events manager of Brown Girl Surf.
We're a small organization. I'm actually one of 2 part-time staff. I work alongside our interim ED, Maya Yamato. We also have an amazing group of volunteers who help us run Brown Girl Surf. I manage logistics, communications, outreach, registration, and all other operations for our beach and our land-based programs. I'm also the lead surf instructor, so I develop our curricula and I train volunteers on Brown Girl Surf pedagogy and surf instructor and environmental education.
And so obviously this sport means a lot to you, but could you talk maybe more specifically about what this work and how it's impacted your own personal life.
Oh, man, I'm about to give you my life story. I'm originally from the Dominican Republic. I immigrated to the States at 15. Prior to that, I was a healthy kid, confident, and a leader. But since I immigrated, I've struggled to fit in and to feel worthy. I still struggle with self-worth. I carried the burden of the expectation to succeed because of all those sacrifices that my parents made for me. My parents live back in the Dominican Republic. They live paycheck to paycheck. They have no financial stability. And they came to the States with complete faith in the American system, the American dream for their kids. They thought that an education in America meant that their children would be fed. And I had a dream too, an impractical one, but it didn't matter because my parents believed in me. I wanted to be a singer, but my experience in America was very white. The high school that I went to and the college, they had both a predominantly white, affluent demographic. So in order for me to navigate these spaces, my strategy for survival was to repress my Latino identity, to blend in, to modify my behavior. I also never had any role models that were women of color. So I equated success with whiteness. I did everything I was supposed to do. I got good grades. I dressed appropriately. I went to college. I graduated with honors. And then I failed. I failed to fit in. I failed to fulfill the expectations as a daughter of hardworking immigrant parents and as a woman in America. I was drowning in debt after college and struggling to keep a job. So I ran back home to the Dominican Republic. I tried to pursue singing there. That was in 2014. A lot happened. My grandmother passed away. I went through a bad breakup. I was having an identity crisis. I started developing panic attacks, and nothing really was working. I don't know. I felt trapped in the city in the Dominican Republic and lost. A friend of mine, she was surfing in the north coast of the Dominican Republic, and she invited me to surf. She's Dominican as well. Even though I went to college in Southern California, which is the mecca of surfing in California, and technically I did have access to surfing, it really took me seeing surfing in a familiar cultural setting to acknowledge that this was a possibility for me, that I, as a woman of color, could surf. I didn't really even see it as something that, I don't know, it just seemed like such an alien thing. And so my friend took me surfing, and for the first time in my life, I felt completely present in the experience, and I felt powerful and humbled in front of this huge, powerful force. And then, a lot happened. As I became more involved with surfing, I started experiencing discrimination, even from Dominicans. Colorism is really prevalent in the Dominican Republic. People who have lighter skin have more access and are perceived differently than people with darker skin in the Dominican Republic. So when my skin got darker, my family started making comments about my skin color. When my shoulders got broader, the local boys would start making fun of my broad back and my manly arms. The nickname that the local boys had for me was embudo, or embuda, which means funnel, because of the shape of my body. I left the Dominican Republic because I started at this path of social and racial and justice and equity just was open for me. I started seeing the world from a different lens, and I also felt more identifying as an athlete. It made me feel like, okay, I didn't really have to fit just into the box of fragile femininity and singer or whatever that I had, that these expectations that my family had of me or that my society, my very machista country had imposed on me. So I wanted to show this possibility, come back again to the States and learn more and find a program like Brown Girl Surf to bring what I learned back to the Dominican Republic, to my community there. I somehow ended up in the Bay Area. A friend of mine referred me to Brown Girl Surf after I had spent a good chunk of time not surfing here because I was too intimidated to surf. I had heard about the surf culture in California, and I knew I was going to be one of the few women of color surfers, so I was too scared to actually paddle out and experience aggression and that feeling of not belonging. So it took me about 4 months before I managed to get the courage to paddle out, and it was thanks to Brown Girl Surf. My first experience with Brown Girl Surf was volunteering. It was the first time that I was in a group of just women surfers, women of color surfers. It was so powerful. There's nothing quite like it. That's when I first truly learned to not only celebrate my identity as a Latino and to be loud about it. We wear bright pink rash guards, so we're very conspicuous in the beach. I am so grateful to be a part of this organization.
You were listening to Marley Reynosa, Program and Events Manager and Lead Surf Instructor of Brown Girl Surf based in Oakland, California. Do you have any role models or inspirations that you look to now as you continue this next stage of your life journey?
The people who truly inspire me the most are the women in our community. We are connected through this profound love of the ocean and dedication to girls' empowerment. For example, our interim ED, Maya, she has a PhD in oceanography and had an impressive career in STEM. She also had to overcome some obstacles on her own growing up as an immigrant. Now she's a mom and she's running Brown Girl Surf, and she's allowing me the space to grow and learn in my role. One of our core volunteers, Ginger Cuevas, she's a New Yorican hip-hop artist and a coder and a single mom who grew up in the project. She was dreaming of surfing growing up, and she actually tried surfing for the first time in the beginning of last year. And to me, what that moment was such a powerful thing to witness. That was my first experience with Brown Girl Surf, and I think that's when I realized the unique value of Brown Girl Surf, that we are actually changing lives. Other inspirations that I've met because of Brown Girl Surf, there's this group called the Institute for Women Surfers. It's a collective of women surfers, activists, artists, business owners, scientists, and educators, and we get together to share skills and brainstorm solutions for issues of equity, conservation, and racial and social justice. It was founded by Krista Kammer. She's an academic and surf feminist who wrote the book Surfing Girls in the New World Order. And through the Institute of Women Surfers, I got to meet Rhonda Harper. She is from Black Girl Surf, and Black Girl Surf is also working to, like us, diversify the lineup, but in the world of competitive surfing. She highlights professional surfers like Suelen Naraiza, who's an Afro-Latina pro surfer from Brazil. She's a ripper, and she has an incredibly voluptuous body, which is not what you see in bikini ads from the major surfwear brands. Another surfer that I really like is Nick Miller. She's from Hawaii. She's a black surfer. Before I got connected to Brown Girl Surf, I didn't really know of that many black surfers out there, but thanks to these organizations who are working to amplify the voices of women of color surfers, I have so many people that I could follow and look up to. And recently, Tara Ruttenberg, she just wrote a really haunting piece about women's experience in a male-dominated lineup. She's so brave to call out the everyday sexism and the power structures and oppression that exists in surf culture, just like in our society at large. And of course, there are the trolls and the men who continue to minimize and deny our experiences of women of color. But she's out there speaking out on behalf of us and sharing our stories.
I was reading online about the values of the Brown Girl Surf Womanifesto. And I really loved the many layers that you guys talk about in this Womanifesto. And I wanted to sort of read some of it now and have us talk a little bit about why these were the elements that were important to foreground. Your first one is to play. We play to be free, connected, and rejuvenated. Your second principle here is community. We are a community that takes care of each other by keeping each other safe, encouraging each other, and including everyone. Girls' empowerment. We are strong in our bodies and our minds and invent ourselves in our own images. The environment. We care for and respect the ocean and land. We show gratitude for the gifts of nature. Expression through arts. We use art to celebrate ourselves and our community. And gratitude. We practice gratitude to heal and to find peace. There's so much of this amazing Womanifesto that I find so inspiring and so appealing, particularly for communities of color. If only we lived like this in all aspects of our life, showing gratitude to the ocean and to land. If only we were focused on having a community-centered approach. For you all, surfing is not just the physicality of it, that there is a larger philosophy that guides the work that you do about how we need to coexist in the world. Why is that important to introduce that philosophy, those values to young girls and women who are being introduced to surfing?
For us to be able to hold this space for girls and to show them that you can be strong in your bodies and that you can do whatever you want and actually get it in the community, I think it's just really, it's necessary.
How do the girls respond to this? Are they taking it in? Are they kind of perplexed by it? How are they learning and incorporating these values through your programs?
I'll tell you a little bit about our program and our curriculum. We make sure that our curriculum is culturally relevant and that the girls who come into our space are met with leaders who look like them and understand their experiences, powerful women who are out there just killing it. Surfing, like anything in life, can be intimidating for a number of reasons, especially for girls and women of color. But we teach them that we can face those fears together and that together that we can overcome any obstacle. We help cultivate a relationship with the ocean. And really, once you come into this space and experience the joy in connecting to the ocean, it's only natural that you'll want to care for it. So we show them tangible ways of protecting what we love. We carpool to the beach. We leave no waste at the beach. For lunch, we consciously select foods to minimize our impact to the environment. And this year, we've expanded our advocacy efforts to include a trip to Sacramento with our youth to protest offshore drilling earlier this year. We spoke at a panel with Wahina Project, City Surf Project, Surf Rider Foundation, and the Institute for Women Surfers at the Green California Summit in Sacramento, and we talked about political and cultural barriers of access to the coastline. The girls feel empowered and emboldened to take action, whether that means calling out sexism or taking concrete steps to care for the environment. One of the girls in our Rising Leaders mentorship program, which is a program where an adult volunteer is paired with a youth, and they help co-facilitate our Surf Sister Saturdays. Like, they divide up into teams, the wetsuit team, the board team, and they help actually with instruction. So one of those youth, she commented to her mentor that she is committed to reducing plastic waste in her life and eliminating the use of plastic straws. She also said that thanks to Brown Girl Surf, she wants to study environmental law. And it's just having women of color role models that we have in our community is what helps them see this as a possibility, like these pathways as a possibility. Another example, 2 rising leaders went out surfing with one of our mentors to Santa Cruz, and a well-meaning white man approached them and started man-teaching and mansplaining surfing and tried to tell them how to surf, basically. And the girls were the ones that actually felt empowered to call it out as what it was, which is this man like coming into their space and providing unsolicited advice. It's so great to see girls feeling empowered, take action.
Can you tell our listeners how they can learn more about Brown Girl Surf and maybe any community events or summer programs that you would like our listeners to learn about?
We just wrapped up our spring season. On June 2nd was our last Surf Sister Saturday, but we're actually getting ready to relaunch our summer camp. Our first summer camp is July 10th to the 12th. We have 4 summer camp sessions in July and August, and they're 3-day sessions that take place Tuesday through Thursdays, and it's about deepening surfing skills, exploring the marine environment, and connecting to the ocean. To sign up, you can go to browngirlsurf.com/register-for-programs. Be able to find out more information about us there. You can also follow us on Facebook at Brown Girl Surf and Instagram as well at Brown Girl Surf.
Great. And we'll be sure to put a link to the registration on our website. Thank you so much, Marley, for being on the show. I really enjoyed talking to you and learning more about Brown Girl Surf.
Oh, it was such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.